I let my wife's ex buy my son a Mustang at his party. So I walked away in silence, triggered financial collapse, and never looked back forever. The click of a Mustang door slamming shut might as well have been the sound of a gun going off in my chest. It was Jason's 18th birthday. I had been up since 5 o'clock, stringing balloons on the fence, scrubbing down the patio chairs Claire insisted we never had time to replace. The grill hissed with smoked hickory. Our neighbors from 2 houses down brought their potato salad like clockwork, and Jason was all grins as he high-fived his buddies and hugged his grandma. It was supposed to be a good day, normal, mine. Then the Mustang pulled up, cherry red, fresh wax still dripping off the damn thing. You could hear it purr before it even rounded the corner. I saw it and instinctively wiped my hands on my jeans like I was about to shake hands with death. Tom stepped out, wearing aviators and a smugness I could smell from the grill. Claire stiffened beside me. That alone should have been a tell. She had worn her hair down today, rare, and she looked like she wanted to melt into the lawn. Jason's face lit up like he just met a superhero. "Tom!" he shouted, sprinting toward him. Tom held his arms open like he had been waiting his whole life for this reunion scene. Cameras lifted. I do not know if it was Jason's girlfriend or one of his friends filming, but someone caught the moment like it was a damn movie. Hugs, slaps on the back, and then Tom dangled a key fob. "Your real dad wanted you to have this," he said, just loud enough for the party to hush into collective disbelief. I felt the spatula in my hand twitch like it wanted to stab someone. Claire did not even look at me, just stared at the ground like she could dig her way out of this moment. But I did not say a word. Not to Tom, not to Jason, not even to the crowd that went from cheerful to awkward faster than you can burn a hot dog. Instead, I walked over slowly, wiping the sweat off my brow like this was just another chore. I reached into my back pocket and pulled out an envelope, white, sealed, my handwriting. "Here," I said to Jason, "Happy birthday." He blinked. "What is this?" "Something I have been working on for a while." And I walked away, past the grill, past the guests, past Claire, who was now biting her lips so hard it bled. I slipped my wedding ring off without fanfare and dropped it into the cooler behind the grill next to the beer. Let it chill. You would be surprised how quiet a backyard can get when you hand your son a note like that. In front of 30 people, and just leave. And before I go any further, 98% of you listening to this have not subscribed yet. That one click genuinely helps more than you think. We put our time and blood into these stories. Your support tells us to keep digging deeper. Now, back to the party. Jason opened the envelope right there. His voice wavered just a little, but he read it aloud like it was part of the act. "I loved raising you, but I will not compete. I am stepping away, Dad. No yelling, no slap, no dramatic exit, just silence, the kind that makes your skin itch." One woman near the swing set whispered something, and her husband shushed her. Someone else coughed. I heard the ice clink in a cup. Jason stood there holding that note like it was made of knives. Claire tried to put a hand on his shoulder. He shrugged it off. Tom chuckled like it was all some mix-up. "Come on, Ken, do not be dramatic." I did not turn around, just kept walking to my truck, parked a block over. I did not want a scene. Hell, I had lived in quiet misery long enough. I figured my exit should match. But I knew what I was doing because Claire did not know I had already rerouted our bank accounts. Jason did not know the title of that Mustang had a little surprise baked into it. And Tom, well, Tom had no idea that he just stepped into a carefully laid bear trap painted cherry red. Jason stared at the envelope like it might bite him. I could see him hesitate, thumb hovering at the seal before he ripped it open with that same cocky energy he used to unbox birthday sneakers. He thought it was some sentimental card, a joke, a clue to a gift I had not given yet. He thought, wrong. "I loved raising you, but I will not compete. I am stepping away, Dad." He read it in full voice, clear and sharp like a script, and just like that, the party flatlined. Someone let out an uncomfortable chuckle, then immediately stopped. A beer bottle clinked against the table. The bounce house motor hummed, sounding suddenly like a dying heart monitor. Claire's cousin put her phone down mid-nap. No one said anything. Just a yard full of people stuck between should we intervene, and are we already in too deep? Jason looked up, confused. What the hell does that mean? Claire was frozen. She had gone pale but still did not speak, not even a whisper. I took a breath, walked over to Bill, the neighbor who always brought those soggy-ass deviled eggs, and shook his hand. "Thanks for coming, Bill. Really?" He tried to say something, but I was already moving. Back to the grill. I popped the lid open, let the smoke hit me. It smelled like a funeral. Then slowly, I pulled off my wedding ring and dropped it in the cooler next to the Miller Lite. It made this soft little clink, like a bell at last call. Fitting. I did not look back. Claire called out finally, just a brittle call like I had dropped my wallet or forgotten the ketchup. But I did not respond, just walked out through the side gate. No raised voice, no suitcase in hand, just gone. I think that is what rattled the most, the complete absence of drama, no threats, no tears, just silence, like a light being turned off. And I know Claire. She thrives on chaos, needs it to feel in control. The lack of reaction unnerved her, made her doubt everything, made her wonder what I knew and when I had known it. The funny thing is, I did not have a big plan that morning, no grand speech, no perfectly timed exit, just one envelope, one sentence, and enough clarity to finally walk the hell away. Jason did not follow. He stood there holding that piece of paper like it had burned his hand. His shiny Mustang gleamed in the driveway, still warm from Tom's arrival, still reeking of arrogance. I heard later that the party fizzled out quick. Some folks made excuses. Some stayed awkwardly sipping drinks in silence while Claire sat in a lawn chair, trembling, texting me like crazy. I did not read a single one. What is that saying? A man does not raise his voice when the decision has already been made. Let them sit with the silence. Let them wonder. Because when you react with fire, people brace for the burn. But when you leave without sound, that is when they start to fear the smoke they cannot see. I packed that night quietly. No midnight shouting match, no lamps thrown, no slow clap confrontation like in the movies. Just folded shirts, a shaving kit, and the spare key to the storage unit I had rented 2 weeks prior. I did not even touch the dresser Claire and I used to share. She could keep the socks in the silence. By midnight, the house was dark, except the soft blue glow from Jason's room upstairs, probably playing whatever celebratory playlist he queued up to match the gleam of his brand new identity. His real dad had arrived after all, with leather seats and Bluetooth. The only sound in the kitchen was the dull hum of the refrigerator and the occasional ding from Claire's phone. I could see it on the counter, screen lighting up every few minutes. Probably her sister, or maybe Tom. Either way, it was not for me. I left a single line on the fridge in magnetic letters we used to spell out dumb jokes on when Jason was little. Mail Post Office Box 172 Ashland, 2 states over. Just far enough to mean do not visit, but not far enough to be considered hiding. I was not hiding. I just did not want to be seen. At 9:03 the next morning, Jason posted a picture of the Mustang on his Instagram, front and center in the driveway, still beaded with dew. The caption read, "New ride, new chapter." He added a flexing bicep emoji and tagged Tom. No mention of me, no thanks. Just a quick rewrite of his origin story like I have been photoshopped out. Claire liked the post within seconds, then commented, "Proud of you always, red heart." The kind of comment that does not look like guilt unless you know the whole picture. Back in the house, the one I had paid off early, remodeled myself, wired with solar before anyone on the block even knew what a tax credit was. Claire slept on one side of the bed like I was still there. Old habits die hard. Her arm probably drifted into the space I used to fill, only to land in cold nothing. First time in 20 years. I wonder how long she lay awake before accepting that the silence was not temporary. I had called the utilities earlier in the week. Everything but the internet was already transferred to her name. Let Tom cover the Wi-Fi. He seemed like the kind of guy who would Venmo her from a golf course. No one officially told Jason I was gone. He did not call, did not ask. Maybe he assumed I was out cooling off somewhere. Or maybe Tom filled the gaps with stories about how real men do not beg to be chosen. I imagine Jason ate it up. At 18, everything sounds smarter when it comes from someone wearing mirrored sunglasses and condescension. But here is the thing about a new chapter. It is still in the same book. And what neither of them realized yet was that I was not just stepping out of their story. I was writing one of my own, a cleaner one, calmer. No corrections, no compromise. But most of all, no Claire, no Jason. Not anymore. Tom started showing up like he lived there. Not moved in exactly, just permanently around. Morning coffee in one hand, Bluetooth earpiece in the other, barking something about scaling and synergy to whoever was unfortunate enough to be on the other end. Jason thought it was cool, said it was like living with a mentor and roommate. Claire just nodded along, sipping her wine a little earlier each day. By the end of that week, Tom had already taken the Mustang out for a quick spin 3 times. Got to keep the engine loose, he said, winking like he was doing Jason a favor. Jason, in full golden retriever mode, handed over the fob each time without blinking. Never mind that the car insurance still technically linked to Claire's name. Never mind that the second spin lasted 6 hours and came back with an empty tank and 2 receipts for cocktails in the glove box. The third time, Jason happened to glance out the upstairs window just in time to see Tom cruising down the street, laughing, sunglasses on, with a woman in the passenger seat who definitely was not Claire. Blonde, maybe mid-30s, legs tucked up on the dashboard like she belonged there. Jason did not say anything right away. Maybe he told himself there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe he figured the woman was some client, but something in his face changed after that. Not anger, not yet, just subtraction. Like he started mentally erasing parts of Tom's myth with a pencil. Claire saw the woman too, from the kitchen window. She froze with her hands still under the faucet, water running over them until it overflowed the sink. But she did not move. Did not ask, did not want the answer, just shut the faucet off, dried her hands with a dish towel, and muttered something about switching to almond milk. The kind of non sequitur you deploy when reality is too ugly to face head on. 2 days later, Jason walked into the garage and found Tom digging through Ken's old tool cabinet. Tools Ken had organized like a surgeon, labels, outlines, drawers marked with hand-carved initials, the kind of order only a man with patience and deep respect creates. Tom was not careful. He had half the wrenches dumped out on the floor, a flashlight clamped between his teeth, muttering about this damn compressor. Jason stood there a beat too long before clearing his throat. Tom did not even flinch. "Your old man really liked his toys, huh?" he said, holding up a torque wrench like it was some alien artifact. Jason's jaw clenched. "That is not a toy." Tom laughed. "Relax, I will put it back." But he did not. Later that night, Jason found the same wrench abandoned on the workbench, covered in grease, next to a beer bottle and the remnants of a half-eaten protein bar. It sat there like a middle finger. Claire walked past it 3 times and said nothing. Just kept refilling her wine glass, scrolling her phone like reality was a bad app she could swipe away. The house started to feel wrong, like someone had rearranged the furniture just enough that you stubbed your toe every time you turned a corner. Jason noticed Tom had started showering in the master bathroom. His cologne lingered on Claire's robe. She did not protest, did not look thrilled either. There was no screaming, no betrayal monologues, just that slow, rotten peel of illusion, layer by layer. And still, no one said Ken's name. But his absence had a weight that filled every room. He did not need to haunt them. They were unraveling just fine on their own. It was a Tuesday afternoon when the call came. Jason was in the middle of heating leftover pizza when Claire's phone lit up with a number she did not recognize. Area code local. She picked up on speaker, distracted until the words impounded vehicle landed like a brick in her lap. Tom had been pulled over doing 87 in a 55. No license on him, no registration, just charm and a smile that apparently did not work on state troopers. The Mustang was impounded on the spot, not because of the speed, not even because of the attitude, because the car was not his. It was leased under Claire's name. And that lease had been approved months ago using her credit score, built almost exclusively off Ken's meticulous decades of financial grooming. She never realized it until the officer on the phone said, "Ma'am, you are the listed owner and liable party." Jason stood in the kitchen doorway, watching her face collapse in real time. "What the hell do you mean it is not Tom's?" he asked, voice cracking like a teenager again. Not a man with a car, or so he thought. Claire hung up and looked at him like a toddler who had wandered into traffic. "Ken must have." "I did not know," she whispered. Jason's eyes narrowed. "Wait, so all those tolls, the parking tickets?" Claire did not answer. She did not have to. The next day, Jason's driver's license was suspended. Automatic action due to unpaid fees tied to the Mustang's plate, dozens of toll violations from 2 different states. Apparently, Tom liked long drives and disliked paying for them. Jason, now legally grounded, sat on the edge of his bed, holding the suspension notice like it was radioactive. The car that symbolized freedom had become a cage, a shiny, repossessed cage. And Tom, he was gone. No calls, no texts, no posts. Claire tried not to panic for the first 24 hours. Maybe he just needed to clear his head. By hour 36, her wine had turned to whiskey. By hour 48, she started calling straight to voicemail. The third time, she left a message that ended with a barely choked, "Please just let me know you are okay." At hour 72, he answered. Claire was pacing in the kitchen barefoot when he picked up. Jason could hear every word from the hallway. "Tom, where are you? What the hell is going on? You left us." Tom's voice, perfectly calm. "Claire, I am not built for all this domestic pressure." There was a pause, then a casual, "I just needed space. I am staying at Serena's for a bit. She has got this, like, zen vibe, you know. Claire did not respond, just stood there holding the phone like it might bite her. Tom added, "This whole thing, being a dad, the money stuff, your kid with his attitude, it is just not really me, you know. I thought I could play house, but I am more of a freedom guy." And then he hung up. No apology, no plan, no Mustang. Jason walked into the kitchen and looked at his mother like she was someone he had never met before. "Serena?" he asked, voice low. Claire did not speak. She poured herself another drink and sat at the kitchen table like gravity had doubled. Jason said nothing, just turned and walked out of the room. The silence between them now was not the kind you sit with. It was the kind that settles, that crawls into the corners of the house and stays. The new chapter had begun to rot from the inside. Tom, the replacement, the fantasy, the man with a Mustang and a grin, was not a savior. He was a flare, bright, loud, temporary. And now that he was gone, the smoke was all that remained. Jason was not looking for the box. He was digging through the attic, trying to find a pair of cleats he swore he left up there 2 summers ago, when his hand brushed something solid and familiar beneath a pile of old comforters. A Rubbermaid container, green lid cracked at one corner, labeled in Ken's clean block lettering, Jason years 1 to 10. He sat cross-legged on the attic floor, wiping sweat from his forehead, and pried it open. Inside, frozen time photos, mostly Ken in a worn flannel holding toddler Jason by the seat of a Spider-Man bike. Jason in a scout uniform smudged with mud, standing proudly next to a tent Ken had probably spent an hour cursing while assembling. Birthday parties, science fair projects, tie-tying before a middle school dance, Jason's fingers clumsy, Ken's hands steady behind him. In every picture, Ken looked exhausted and deeply present. It was weird. Jason did not remember some of these moments, but they hit with the force of something he should remember, like a song from a dream that follows you into daylight. He closed the box without taking anything out, left it in the corner of the attic, suddenly heavy. Later that week at football practice, his coach pulled him aside for one of those quick sideline chats, while the other players huddled for drills. "Hey, Jay," coach said, frowning. "Everything okay at home?" Jason shrugged. "Yeah, fine." Coach nodded slowly, not buying it. "I haven't seen your dad around. He usually comes to the first couple practices. I figured he was traveling or something." Jason swallowed. He is not really my dad anymore." Coach blinked. "What does that mean?" Jason did not answer. Coach shook his head. "Look, I do not know what is going on. Not my business. But that man, Ken, he is the one who showed up every damn time." Jason felt it then. A low ripple. Not grief, not anger. Something smaller, colder, like shame's shadow. When he got home, he walked past Claire without saying anything. She was on her second glass of wine, watching some talent show rerun she had already seen. He stood in front of the hallway mirror for a long time, staring at himself, not flexing, not posing, just looking. Trying to figure out when his reflection started feeling foreign. On instinct, he opened the hall closet. On the top shelf, right behind the winter scarves, was Ken's old baseball glove. Jason pulled it down, holding it like a relic. He used to love the way it smelled. Sweat, leather, sawdust from the garage floor. He pressed it to his face without even thinking, then quickly put it back and shut the door. That night, his phone buzzed. A message from Tom. "Hey man, just checking in. Things chill." Jason stared at the screen. No apology, no mention of the license suspension, no hint of accountability, just that same shallow, dismissive tone. He did not reply. Instead, he opened the Notes app on his phone and typed out, "He was always the one who showed up," then deleted it, then typed it again, then just sat there. In the quiet, in the absence, echoes of Ken's presence started filling in the cracks, and for the first time, Jason wondered if he had exiled the wrong man. The envelope came on a Wednesday, thin, white, official-looking. Claire almost tossed it in the pile with the junk mail, pre-screened credit offers, past due notices, a newsletter from the wine subscription she forgot to cancel. But something about the return address gave her pause. She slid it open with a knife from the drying rack. Inside, a polite letter from the bank confirming that the joint savings accounts had been legally separated as of 3 months ago, per Ken's request. Her hand trembled as she reread the date, 3 months ago. That was before the barbecue, before the Mustang, before Jason's new chapter, before she realized her marriage had died silently in the guest bedroom and been quietly buried in legal paperwork. She flipped the page. The remaining balance in the account now resided solely under Ken's name. Her access had been formally and irrevocably revoked. She dropped the paper like it burned. Jason walked in, amid panic, tossing his gym bag near the stairs. "Are we out of Gatorade?" Claire did not answer. He frowned. "Mom, check the fridge," she managed to say, voice thin, eyes locked on the countertop where the letters sat like a loaded pistol. She waited until Jason went upstairs before slipping into the study and pulling open the file drawer. The house deed. She needed the deed. Her name had been on it. They had signed together at the title company 20 years and 2 hairstyles ago. She remembered the celebratory dinner afterward. Ken had made a dumb toast to finally paying someone to mow a lawn that is technically ours. She found the folder. Inside, a scanned copy of a notarized transfer. The deed was no longer in both their names. Ken had moved the house into a trust, not in his name, in a trust, which, according to the line of legalese she barely understood, meant she had no ownership, no say, no leverage. The blood drained from her face. Her mouth went dry. Her phone slipped from her hand and thudded on the carpet. She picked it up and called him, straight to voicemail. She called again. It rang twice this time. Then, "Hello," his voice, calm, measured, almost unfamiliar. "Ken," she blurted. "What the hell is going on? I just got this notice in the house." "Did you seriously?" "Yes," he said flatly. "You cannot just—" "I did not just anything," he said, cutting her off. "This has been in motion. For months. You just did not notice." Her voice broke. "Why would you do this to me, Claire?" He said, "Did you think I would fight for you? Did you think I would throw myself on some dramatic altar to win back a woman who replaced me like a dead battery?" She started crying. Not the performative kind she used to win arguments, but something messier, raw, desperate. "We did not mean to hurt you," she whispered. There was a silence on the line so heavy it pressed into her bones. Then quietly, "You just did." And the line went dead. She stared at her reflection in the dark window, face twisted and wet, shoulders hunched like a punished child. In the hallway, Jason hovered out of sight. He had heard enough to know something was unraveling, something big. Claire wiped her face and opened her laptop, tried to log into the joint retirement portal. Password changed. Access denied. She reached for the wine. No, too slow. She went straight for the whiskey this time. The house felt suddenly too large, too cold, too borrowed. And for the first time since Ken walked away, Claire realized something terrifying. He had not left her. He had erased her. The tow truck came at sunrise. Jason was still in bed when Claire's shriek echoed through the house. He bolted to the window, half expecting to see an accident, maybe Tom finally staggering back drunk with some new disaster in tow. Instead, it was the Mustang, wheels lifted off the driveway like a body being hauled into a morgue. No sirens, no drama. Just one uniformed man with a clipboard, and the haunting efficiency of someone who has done this too many times. Jason ran outside barefoot, yelling, "Hey, that is my car!" The guy did not even blink. "Not anymore, kid. Missed payments. Owner defaulted." Jason turned to Claire. "What the hell? You said the lease was covered." Claire stood at the top of the steps in a silk robe that looked like it had been worn for 3 days straight. Her face was blank, a cracked porcelain mask. "I did not know," she said, hollow. "It was not me. It was all under your name. My name. You let Tom handle the paperwork, remember?" Jason stared at her. Something shifted in his chest, something irreversible. By noon, his bank app showed overdrafts. By 2 o'clock post-meridium, his debit card got declined buying gas. Claire tossed him her credit card. That, too, rejected. The financial dream Tom had peddled, the car, the flex, the illusion of arrival, was now a mountain of unpaid tolls, late fees, and 2 closed accounts flagged for suspicious activity. Jason stared at the bills piling on the counter, past due, red ink. He never realized how many of them Ken had quietly handled. Claire never talked about it, just drank more and called it self-care. That evening, Jason drove across town using the old minivan they had not sold yet, the one Ken used to drive him to soccer practice in. Its air conditioning barely worked, and the rearview mirror had a crack down the center like a fault line through memory. He pulled into Ken's office building, hoping, desperate really, that maybe, just maybe, the door would open. The old man would be there sorting blueprints or sipping coffee from that stained mug Jason bought him for Father's Day when he was 8. But the nameplate had changed. The receptionist looked up. "Can I help you? Is Ken here?" She blinked. Ken Langley. He retired a few months back. Jason stood there rooted. Retired? Ken had not said a word. No goodbye. No announcement. Just vanished from his life with surgical precision. Jason walked back out into the parking lot and collapsed onto the curb. The sun had started to set, long shadows stretching across the pavement like reminders of everything he could not outrun. He buried his face in his hands. He was not angry anymore, not at Ken, not even at Claire. He just felt alone. He pulled out his phone. His hands trembled. He typed, "Can we talk? I miss you." He stared at it for a full minute before hitting send. Nothing. No read receipt, no typing bubble, no reply. He refreshed, waited, checked the signal. Still nothing. For the first time, Jason felt the difference between being ignored and being gone. And that is when it hit him. Ken had not walked away to make a point. He had walked away because he had already made peace with the loss. And the door Jason thought he could knock on someday, eventually, when things cooled down, was not just closed. It had been bricked over. Claire got the news from a letter slipped under the door. Not a phone call, not a visit, not even a knock, just a quiet manila envelope with her name typed on the front. No return address. Inside, a one-page notification from a law firm she did not recognize. The house, her house, had been sold. Not listed, not shown, not negotiated, just sold. The buyer, Langley Preservation Trust. She blinked. That name. It rang faint bells from old tax documents Ken used to manage on his laptop late at night while she watched reruns and poured her third glass. Claire called the law firm in a panic. She demanded answers. They calmly explained the sale was processed through a blind trust set up 5 years prior, designed to manage property assets in succession of legacy. Succession of legacy, they said it like it was a weather report. No emotion, no room for plea. She was not just a bystander to the sale, she was irrelevant. Claire wandered into the living room, dropped onto the couch, and stared at the wall where the wedding photo used to hang. Now just a pale rectangle, the outline of commitment that no longer existed. Jason came home 1 hour later and found the parcel waiting for him on the porch. No postage, no label, just his name, scrolled in familiar handwriting. Inside was a folded piece of paper, aged, edges curled. It was a crayon drawing he made in 2nd grade. 4 stick figures, him, his mom, a dog, and Ken. He labeled everyone with lopsided letters. Ken's name was circled in red ink. Below it, a single line written in pen. Fathers are made by presence, not blood. Jason stared at it until the colors blurred, until the cheap construction paper felt like sandpaper in his hands. He did not speak when he showed it to Claire. She did the only thing she could think to do. She called Ken. He did not answer. She tried again and again. On the 4th try, it rang once. Then a text arrived seconds later. "I already removed you both from my future." That was it. No punctuation, no venom, just absolute closure. Claire dropped the phone on the carpet. Jason did not even pick it up. They sat in silence. The house around them suddenly felt not theirs, the walls thinner, the lights dimmer. The rooms echoing with a man's absence who never raised his voice, never threw things, never begged. He just left. Deliberate, surgical, final. Jason walked outside and sat on the curb where the Mustang used to be. He unfolded the drawing again and stared at it like it was a map to a country that no longer existed. Claire sat frozen in the kitchen, the overhead light flickering above her. What they thought was a pause was actually an ending, and they had both missed the moment the door locked behind them. It was the local Fall Fest, one of those small-town staples with paper lanterns, folding tables, homemade jam contests, and volunteer booths that smelled faintly of kettle corn and dried leaves. Claire had not planned on going. She had not planned much of anything for months, but Jason insisted they needed normal, whatever that meant now. The air was crisp. Couples strolled hand in hand. Children ran past with painted faces and balloon swords. Claire sipped lukewarm cider, eyes glazed, only half listening to a woman from church talk about a raffle basket full of spa coupons and bath salts. Jason stood beside her, taller now, or maybe just quieter. He did not look at his phone anymore, did not post. The glint was gone. He scanned the crowd like he was looking for something he had lost at a distance he could not name. Then he froze. Across the hall, beneath a banner that read, "Neighbors Helping Neighbors," Ken stood speaking with a woman in a gray blazer, her name tag reading, Executive Director. He laughed at something she said. Genuine, relaxed, the kind of ease Claire had not seen on him in years. He looked well, cleaner, lighter, fulfilled. Jason did not move at first, just stared, unsure if he was hallucinating. But then, almost on instinct, he took a step forward, then another, until he was standing just a few feet away. "Dad?" he asked, voice soft, hesitant, like the word might shatter in his mouth. Ken turned, his eyes met Jason's. He smiled faintly, not at once, then turned back to the director and kept talking. No anger, no judgment, no invitation. Jason stood there stunned, not rejected, just bypassed. as if he were a memory, as if time had made him something Ken no longer reached for. Claire approached slowly, watching it all unfold. She did not say anything for a long time, just stood beside her son as the man they once called family disappeared back into a different orbit. Finally, she whispered, more to herself than to him, "He meant it." Jason did not respond, did not cry, just nodded once like his father had, and that was it. No fight, no closure speech, no dramatic reunion, just the final note in a symphony of absence. Because Ken had found something more powerful than revenge. He found peace, without them.